If people keep telling you to speak up, to put yourself out there, to come out of your shell, I want you to consider this. You're not too quiet. You're deep. You're running on a current most people never feel, in water far below the noise on the surface. Somewhere along the way, quiet got mistaken for empty. The kid who'd rather read than shout gets a note home that says, does not participate enough. The adult who thinks before speaking gets passed over for the one who simply speaks first. So you learn to perform a louder version of yourself, and to treat your natural quiet as a problem to fix. But picture the ocean for a moment. The surface is where all the noise lives. The chop, the spray, the waves crashing into each other and going nowhere. Go down a few meters and it changes. It gets still. It gets quiet. And it gets powerful in a way the surface never is. The deepest water moves the slowest and carries the most. Stillness, down there, is not the absence of force. It's force with nothing to prove. That's closer to what's happening inside you. Where some people meet the world at the surface, all spray and quick reaction, you meet it further down. The same meeting, the same idea, the same comment, lands on them as something to answer immediately, and lands on you as something to turn over, to feel the weight of, to actually think about. You're not slow, you're deep. There's a difference, and the difference is everything. Let me tell you about someone. I'll call him Daniel. For most of his life, Daniel was told he needed to come out of himself more. Teachers wrote it on his reports. Managers wrote it in his reviews. So Daniel built a louder. Daniel, the one who worked the room, who spoke first, who never let a silence sit. And on paper, it worked. People called him confident. The strange part was how tired he was. He'd come home from a good night and feel hollowed out, like he'd spent the evening playing an instrument that wasn't his. What finally changed for Daniel wasn't that he learned to be louder. It was the day he stopped believing loud was the goal. He noticed that his best work had never come from the room. It came from the quiet after. The long walk, the blank page, the single deep conversation in the corner while everyone else was performing. He stopped trying to widen himself and started letting himself go deep. And the depth he'd been apologizing for turned out to be the only thing that was ever really his. There's real science under this. Researchers have found the introverted brain isn't a broken extroverted one. It's wired differently. It responds more strongly to stimulation, so a room that merely warms an extrovert up can flood someone quieter. Brain imaging shows more blood flowing to the regions tied to planning and inner thought. You're not failing to engage with the world. You're engaging with it more deeply, and a nervous system that takes in that much needs the quiet to make sense of it all. Somewhere between a third and a half of people are built this way. The quiet ones were never the exception. They were always half the room. So, if you've spent your life being told to be more than you are, here are 3 things I want you to understand about the way you're built. First, your quiet is not absence. It's processing. The silence before you answer isn't you having nothing to say. It's you having too much to say to waste on the first thing that comes. The world mistakes the fast talker for the deep thinker, but they're rarely the same person. What looks like hesitation is usually depth taking its time. Second, the world is loud, but it runs on the deep. The person on the stage gets the applause, but the ideas they're standing on were almost always built in silence, by someone who needed a closed door to do their best thinking. Every loud surface is held up by a quiet depth. You're not missing from the important work. You're where it actually gets made. Third, you don't need to become louder. You need to stop translating yourself into a language that costs you everything to speak. Find the medium that fits. The writing, the one true friend, the small room instead of the big one. And you'll say more there in an hour than the loudest person says in a year. Depth doesn't need a megaphone. It needs the right channel. So stop trying to drag yourself up to the surface and hold yourself there, gasping, just because that's where the noise is. You were never too quiet. You were simply built to live a little deeper than most. And the answer was never to rise to the chop, but to trust the still, strong water you've always come from. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once said that all of humanity's problems come from one thing: our inability to sit quietly in a room alone. You already know how to do the one thing most people can't. That's not a flaw to fix. That's a debt to come home to. You were never too quiet. You were just deep water, told your whole life to act like spray. So stop apologizing for the stillness, and go down to where your power actually lives.